This story happened in Argentina and began in the city of Entuzianga, located in the west of the province of Buenos Aires in 2001. In this town lived Rosana Galliano, a 22-year-old beautiful girl, daughter of Reynaldo y Graciela Galliano, and she had two brothers, Oscar Gustavo, and a sister, Monica. Next to the family home was Reynaldo Galliano's garage, where Rosana worked part-time. One afternoon, Rosana was in the garage when a 1931 Ford collector car arrived there in need of repair. Its owner was Jose Arza. He was 52 years old, but he immediately fell in love with Rosana and did not hide it, complimenting the girl. Rosana politely answered him with a smile. Since repairing the old car took time, Jose Arza used this to get to know Rosana better. Every time he came to the workshop, he brought her small gifts. Jose seemed like a good man, and he had a business selling chickens and eggs, as well as owning several plots of land. A few months after they met, Jose showed up at Rosana's house to ask for her hand in marriage. Rosana's parents were not thrilled with the idea, and the girl's mother asked the man if he thought he was a little old for her daughter, to which Jose replied that there was no age for love. Rosana, though not thrilled, agreed to the marriage. 7 months later, on November 17, 2001, Jose and Rosana were married. The bride's dress was a gift from Jose's mother, Elsa Geller, a woman who lived in the United States. As soon as she learned of the marriage, Elsa flew to Argentina with the wedding dress and as a gift gave the newlyweds a house in the town of Exaltación de Lacras in the province of Buenos Aires. Elsa Geller has always been very involved in her son's life. She took him with her to the United States when he was young to get an education. For the next 30 years, Jose Arza was involved in various activities in the north and had problems related to his use of various drugs. He ended up serving a 3-year sentence for possession of illegal substances before returning to Argentina. Of course, in the early years they seemed to be a happy couple, and Rosana's family visited them often. Soon the girl became pregnant, their first child, a boy they named Geronimo. However, happiness did not last long, and in 2004, just 3 years after the wedding, Rosana came to her mother and, without giving unnecessary explanations, said that she wanted a divorce. But shortly afterward, the young woman became pregnant again. The illusion and romance ended when the second son, Nihuan, was born. There was a change in the closeness of family and friends who became distant, either because of problems with Jose or to avoid problems for Rosana. There were some quarrels, and by 2005 the marital situation had deteriorated to the point where the young woman went to the local police station several times to report psychological and physical abuse by her partner. A total of 6 complaints were registered and finally, on July 20, 2007, Jose Arza was forbidden to come closer than 30 meters to his wife for 3 months. This was the beginning of the divorce proceedings. At the same time, Jose Arza began to claim that Rosana had been unfaithful to him and that she had allegedly had a relationship with a gardener who was a former employee of Jose's. Rosana did have a new crush, Daniel Gonzalez, but apparently the relationship didn't work out. Then there was 32-year-old Oscar Luga, whom she met at a pizza place while having lunch with friends. Oscar was also very well received in the Galliano family, and according to later references, he was a man who was very well behaved with Rosana and her children. As might be expected, the divorce proceedings led to discussions about custody of the couple's children. During the process, Jose was allowed to take his sons from Friday afternoon to Monday afternoon, but gradually the man postponed the return of the children to their mother, from which Rosana's nerves were on edge. On one such occasion, when days passed and Jose did not return the children, the woman arranged for him to come and pick them up from his house. But when Rosana arrived at the arranged time, 3 hooded men pounced on her car. She got out of the car and jumped over the gate onto the property. When Rosana told Jose what had happened, he virtually ignored the fact. So she filed a complaint again, but her fears still intensified and the woman began to suffer panic attacks. On January 16, 2008, everything changed. That afternoon, Rosana went with her sister, Monica, to a house in the El Romanza neighborhood where the court had set a meeting place during the divorce proceedings for Jose to pick up and bring their children to comply with weekly visitation. It was Wednesday, and as usual, Jose Arza failed to comply and did not hand over the children on Monday. At 8:15 p.m., Jose called her and told her that her oldest son, Geronimo, who was 5 years old, had a fever and he was going to take him to the emergency room. Rosana asked him to bring her son to her to take care of him, but the man told her to remain calm and ended the conversation. As expected, Rosana's anxiety grew. After dinner, with 10 minutes to go until 11 o'clock, her cell phone rang again. It was Jose Arza. The signal inside the house was very poor, so Rosana went out on the porch to be able to talk. But she only had time to say hello before a man with a gun came out from behind a bush at the entrance to the house and fired 4 shots at the woman. Monica couldn't believe what was happening and saw Rosana fall as the last shots rang out. Immediately, not a second too soon, the woman ran for her cell phone to call emergency services, but she couldn't get through. So she called Jose and told him that Rosana had been shot, to which the man told her to call her neighbors. However, Monica did not know anyone in the neighborhood. A few minutes later, police showed up at the house. Neighbors who heard the gunshots called the authorities, but unfortunately, there was nothing they could do. Shortly afterward, Rosana was pronounced dead at the scene. The investigation began. Almost from the very beginning, hypotheses about a possible robbery were ruled out. The assailant fired shots at the 29-year-old woman and immediately fled the scene. As detectives investigated the victim's life and her troubled relationship with Jose Arza, the man soon became a suspect. There had been divorce proceedings between the couple in which money and property were in dispute, but Jose was not at the scene. So the new assumption was that it could have been a contract killing. During the preliminary investigation, it was established that the killer had entered the garden of the house through the adjacent vacant lot. 4 bullet casings from the bullets fired at Rosana were found at the scene. As the investigation progressed, the Galliano family repeatedly voiced their suspicions about Jose Arza. They knew that Rosana was afraid of him and felt that something might happen to her. For his part, however, Jose Arza pleaded his innocence. He said that during the last call he heard a noise like a lamp exploding, heard her scream, and then complete silence. The man swore that he loved Rosana and said that he had done everything possible to repair the relationship, even being willing to forgive her infidelity. Jose Arza also added that the investigation should focus on one of the 4 lovers he said his wife had. When interviewing neighbors in the area, some said that when they heard the gunshots, they saw a man in his 30s with short dark hair, dressed in shorts, Bermudas, and a light-colored t-shirt, running away from the scene. In the months that followed, investigators followed all possible leads and questioned everyone who had been connected to Rosana in one way or another. The gardener was married, had a daughter, and denied having a relationship with the woman. He added that Jose was an extremely aggressive man and his wife was afraid of him. Oscar Luga said that he had been in a relationship with Rosana for the past 5 months and confirmed what the gardener said about Jose's aggressiveness and the woman's deep fear of him. Oscar also revealed that one day Rosana had let him listen to a voicemail message from Jose in which he said, "I'm dreaming of your death, trashy." Investigators also confirmed that Jose Arza was indeed at the hospital with his son on the night of January 16th. Several people saw him there, and the man clearly made every effort to be seen by as many people as possible. He even asked one of his staff to be his chauffeur that night on the grounds that it would be difficult to find a parking space, which is rare in a hospital at 9 p.m. It is also strange that upon hearing the loud explosion and his ex-wife's screams, instead of trying to contact her again or going to the scene immediately, he went to the police station to say that he thought something had happened to her. After all, Jose had a lot to lose in the divorce, as dividing the $700,000 fortune accumulated over the years of their marriage with the help of his mother sounds like a possible motive. To add to all of this, a female protected witness, whose identity was never revealed, claimed she heard a man talking on the phone and said, "I need a gun. Bring it here and I'll look at it and buy it." That man was Gabriel Leguizamon. Gabriel and his brother Paul had long-standing ties to Jose Arza. The witness stated that she did not pay attention to what she heard until she saw Jose Arza with his mother at a meeting at Gabriel's house. According to the informant, the elderly woman seemed to have the upper hand in the conversation, at the end of which she said that everything had been arranged and everything was ready. Also, after Rosana's death, Gabriel returned to the informant the 6,000 pesos that were owed to her and decided to take a vacation. The Leguizamon brothers' house was searched and shell casings of the same caliber as the bullets used to kill Rosana were found. It was later proven that they had been fired from the same gun that had killed the woman. The investigation was extremely slow, and it was not until late April 2009, more than a year after the events, that the authorities showed up at the house where Jose lived, along with his children and mother, with a warrant for their arrest in front of journalists who had arrived on the scene before the police. Jose Arza maintained his position as a victim, a husband deeply in love with his wife, whom she had cheated on with several men. He claimed that despite the 30-year age difference between them, their marriage was a happy one until he discovered her infidelity. He claimed that his wife's 4 lovers had motives to kill her because they were all in trouble with the law, and Rosana knew their secrets and threatened to tell them. The man insisted that there was a 5th lover who needed to be checked out. Moreover, Jose Arza claimed that if he had hired a professional to kill his wife, one shot would have been enough, but she was shot several times, which to him means that the killer knew the woman and hated her. It later emerged that Jose Arza had undergone a psychological evaluation that identified him as manipulative and embittered, unable to plan for the future, unconcerned for his own safety and the safety of others, and without remorse. According to the study, the widower's relationship after the murder of his wife was not as expected in such a situation, as he maintained a defensive posture all along, accompanied by the development of strategic mechanisms in the face of likely opposition. Elsa Igler was not around at the time of the events, but she was suspected to have provided the money to pay the hitman and may have been the puppeteer in the gruesome act. In addition, it was later revealed that the assets acquired during the marriage were not the result of the sale of chickens and eggs, but money provided by Jose's mother, who was not going to lose her investment during the divorce proceedings. On April 6, 2013, the trial for the murder of Rosana Galliano began. In court, in addition to Jose Arza and his mother Elsa Igler, the Leguizamon brothers sat in the dock, accused of being the perpetrators of the murder ordered by Jose and paid for by Elsa. However, at the very beginning of the hearing, the prosecution itself requested the early acquittal of Gabriel and Paula, recognizing that there was insufficient evidence to charge them. Although it continued to argue that there was evidence that 59-year-old Jose Arza, with the financial help of his mother, had ordered the crime to avoid a contentious divorce and unfavorable division of property. The prosecution alleged that on the day of the events, Jose did everything he could to delay handing over the sons to their mother in the hope of facilitating the attack. The man knew the house did not have a good cell phone signal, and even though there was a fully functioning landline phone on the premises, he insisted on calling Rosana on her cell phone, knowing that she would have to leave the house to answer the call. And at that point she was in the killer's line of sight and he was able to shoot her. During the trial it was also proved that during the search of Jose Arza's house, documentation was found in which various questions that could be asked in case of interrogation were written down. And during the wiretapping of telephone conversations, it was recorded that he was counseled on how to behave in front of the media. It was also proven during the hearing that Jose Arza and his lawyer Ramiro Rua were in contact with Paraguayan citizens in the minutes before and after the murder. In addition, it was proven that Ramiro sought to complicate the investigation from the beginning. It was also proven that cross-checking phone calls revealed that two Paraguayan nationals, Jose Mercedes Garcia and Alberto Portillo Paiva, were involved. The former was to do some preliminary reconnaissance to figure out how to get to the location where Rosana Galliano was, while the latter had been there before. The witness, whose identity was not disclosed, said one of them said the victim's lawyer and husband hired them to do the job. In addition, Rosana's sister said that when she went to the police station that day, the first person she saw was Ramiro Roa, who was not the lawyer in the case at the time. All cell phone and landline conversations led to Jose and his lawyer, who was also found to have dialed Rosana's phone number about 10 seconds before the time of the murder. Testimony from staff at the hospital where Jose Arza was with his son confirmed that the husband learned of Rosana's murder while at the hospital when he was talking to the victim's sister, Monica. He even asked the security guards at the center to call the police because his wife had been robbed, a statement that is unknown where it came from. But even more curious is the testimony of the driver who was waiting for him in the car. He said Jose was calm as he approached the car and didn't comment on anything, but a few minutes later he got a call. He got out of the car, talked on the phone and came back in tears because Rosana had been shot, which he already knew when he left the hospital. After both sides' arguments concluded in November 2013, the judges unanimously found Jose Arza and his mother, Elsa Igler, guilty of murder with premeditated conspiracy of two or more people and sentenced both defendants to life in prison. However, taking into account the age of the defendants and their health conditions, Jose Arza decided to keep them free until the sentences become enforceable, with a ban on leaving the country and an obligation to report to the nearest police station on the first 5 days of each month. This measure was strongly criticized by Rosana's family, especially her brother, who protested loudly, and her mother, who could not find comfort. Jose Arza and his mother were rearrested after the verdict was confirmed. In the case of Elsa Igler, given her 84-year-old age, she was ordered to serve her sentence under house arrest with an electronic bracelet. In the case of 64-year-old Jose Arza, although he spent several months in prison, he was also granted house arrest with electronic monitoring in early 2015 due to problems caused by a stroke he suffered during the trial. It should be noted that this measure was not communicated to Rosana's family as required, But perhaps what puzzled me most about this case was that custody of the couple's sons was granted to their mother's murderers, Jose Arza and Elsa Igualar. In November 2018, Jose suffered another stroke and was taken to a local hospital where he passed away a few days later at the age of 70. A year later, 87-year-old Elsa was also taken to the hospital where she was treated for 2 days but eventually died. What do you think about this story? Write your opinion in the comments and subscribe to my YouTube channel.